Welcome to The Fabric of America, the podcast that celebrates small businesses and the remarkable stories that weave our communities together. We're your hosts, Melissa Otto
and Matt Banover.
Matt is a fashion designer passionate about storytelling through style.
And Melissa is a seamstress on a mission to make sewing cool again and inspire the next generation. We sit down with small business owners, artisans, and dreamers to uncover the stories behind their brands, what inspires them, challenges them, and keeps them creating.
Because we believe that behind every idea, every design, every stitch, there's a story worth sharing. So grab a drink from your favorite local shop and join us as we weave together conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of small business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Fabric of America. My name is Matthew Banover, owner of Bards.
And I am Melissa Otto, owner of Demelis Atelier.
And with us, we have...
Krista Lastrina, owner of Lastrina Girls Bridal Salon.
Oh my, just...
La Familia!
Yeah, just like that. This is going to be a ride. Well, thank you so much, Krista, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Could not be happier to have you. You mean so much to us.
Thank you.
Shut up. You leave now.
Yeah.
You don't even get to say those
Listen,
words.
I'm a Lastrina girl.
He is an honorary Lastrina.
Yeah,
Yes,
you are.
exactly. So,
Because, yeah.
we'll,
just there.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. So let's talk about these outfits, because I felt like, you know, we have definitely matched our vibe unintentionally
All
with
the time.
guest. It's the greatest. And so obviously with a celebrity of Krista's caliber, I was like, let me dust up my finest. Get it out of the cedar wood chest. Jeeves, adorn me.
Great.
Yeah, so
Come correct, sir.
I broke out one of my show-stopping suits.
It's a great
It's a good suit.
If I do say so myself.
It's a great suit.
Thank
We'll
you very
agree.
much. Yes. So this is a 13-ounce, 100% wool. The inspiration is 1920s type of Peaky Blinders-esque. So I went with the club collar on the shirt, French cuff with my initials, contrast collar, white with the pinstripe, gauntlet cuffs with the one button on the sleeve. I really wanted this to be...
Please explain a gauntlet cuff, because that's actually a term I have never heard before.
Yeah. Me neither.
So we all know cuffs on pants.
Yep.
So a gauntlet cuff is a cuff on a sleeve because you would wear like gauntlet gloves. So it's an extension of that.
Are you saying you're going to be dueling later? Or
He's
We
here.
will be ready. What do they call it? A wardrobe because I'm dressed to kill. I think that's a 2 Chainz line.
I like it better now. I like it much better now. I accept.
Yeah. So no.
And for the listener not watching, it is a beautiful, like, black and white
Yes.
plaid.
Black and white plaid, very just not in your face gaudy, but just it's a loud print.
It's a bit, yeah.
I really wanted to just a showstopper type of suit. I have a lot of earth tones in my wardrobe. So I was like, I need that one just crisp, clean line.
Very
and then
dapper.
on the inside,
I love that.
I did skull and flower, black and white lining. You got the Made in America. I also have stitched in this one day at a time. This is my suit that helps me with my sobriety. So I love it. It's a nice constant reminder, keeps me going. And on the shoes, I had got a little bit more playful because it can't be all biz. I got my Bob's Burgers socks.
Very nice.
And then I have my Magnani monk strap, light tan, saddle tan type of color. And then I've got my Batman cufflinks, W for Wayne.
Wonderful.
Or
Very
M for Matt,
sharp.
as we
Yes,
talked about.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or I spin them over and they're an M.
Good times.
Thank you.
Well, I similarly knew I had to come correct and dress up for the occasion today. And I wanted to harken back to the working in bridal retail days. So I am in a
Nice.
pretty much all black ensemble.
It's-
I believe I've worn these delightful stir-up pants
They're so
before.
cool.
They are from Ralph Lauren, and I'm wearing one of the only new things I bought last year, which was a pair of Jimmy Choo flats, which if you know anything about me, I'm not a flats person. But these were for like working weddings and stuff, and they're really comfortable. They're nice leather with pearls and studs and all the things. But then up top here, I am wearing my Bard's cocoon shirt. Try not to die laughing.
That was
this
the
time.
best.
I've worn the pink before, but this is the black with like a little tick dot. And I have the contrast white collar as well.
Why, yeah, look at us matching. Just
We're doing the
hardcore.
things, my rolled up sleeves, because it's kind of got that camp shirt situation with the little tab there. But I also wore my stirrups, my suspenders today. They are literally from American Apparel, and I believe they're from like 2005.
Nice.
I don't think they even like fully clip like effectively all the way. They're definitely not functional.
Slightly hug.
They're pure fashion.
Yeah.
I felt like a plastic piece go somewhere one day, so they're still
accessory.
not like sturdy, but they exist. But this outfit was actually, or like the keeping the suspenders, the nicer dress shirt, all the things, was inspired by when one day I was having a little internal conflict and you were like, Melissa, just make a fucking Pinterest board. Just make a Pinterest board. Like, just start pinning like styles and things you like. And I had a full on like Jenna Lyons situation going. And she had a lot of these like really nice dressed up Oxford shirts. She would kind of unbutton them real low and kind of sexy. And she would wear suspenders here and there. And I'm like, I have suspenders. Like, yes. So this is my Jenna Lyons inspired Pinterest outfit.
I love it. It's
Very sharp.
It is very
Thank
sharp.
you. And of course, I have my giant, obnoxious pearl ring, which is from my grandmother.
Love
Like
that.
mad old, pearl and diamond. And this is also for you because we know, like,
We know.
it's an Italian thing. Wouldn't understand.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you go full Italian in this episode.
Oh, buckle up.
Yeah.
It's going to get nuts. For the listener who is unaware at this point, Krista is my cousin.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we said that. We are like, family is off the boat Italian. We ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
Yes,
and
yes, we do.
also best friends.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
No, you're immediately no.
Yes, I'm so glad you feel the same.
Oh, hey, Matt.
Hello, us.
Got awkward.
Yeah, 3 best friends.
3 sisters.
Yes, we are
Like the
Lastrina Girls.
Oh, sorry to
love
the
it.
listener. We're gonna laugh a lot.
Yeah,
this
we are.
episode.
Turn
It's
the
going
volume down.
Yeah.
Not here.
Sorry.
Not here. Just somebody just drives by, just windows blown out of their
That's
car.
it. Oh, best of luck.
All right, Krista, what are you wearing?
Tell us about
Because
it.
we
What am
just
I
want to
wearing?
be on your level. So
Okay, so I am wearing an Alexander McQueen dress.
Yeah, you
I really racked my brain for what I should wear today.
I believe it.
And I sometimes have a hard time figuring out what I'm going to wear and how I want to look and blah, blah, blah. I love these 2 people and I love this dress. Why would I not just wear this dress? After I thought that, I was like, this is a no-brainer. So and the print is a really unusual print, and I just fell in love with it, and it's called Daybreak. And it has these awesome balloon sleeves and a really nice crisp collar. So we're all collared today.
Yeah.
And I am wearing, because it is really chilly out, I am wearing my Linda Richards cashmere and fox wrap in this gorgeous, I don't even know. Some people have called it like a caramel color. I've had other people call it saffron. I don't even know what this color is. And it's not a typical color for me.
Yeah.
But when I tried it on, I was like,
I told you
Easy.
before the episode, I'm shocked you're not wearing black, but I'm so glad you're not. And
So
you
it's-
know I love McQueen. So this is
I too love
a treat
McQueen.
for me.
And it's so funny that you say that because I do just default to black. As you mentioned, in bridal, you have to wear black at most bridal stores, including my bridal store. You have to wear a black-based outfit. And there's some reasons behind that. But either way, the vast majority of the world sees me in black head to toe. So it's nice to be in a little bit of color today.
Yeah.
It's almost
Love it.
refreshing.
It is. It's funny because
Yeah.
you and I are both so colorful, and here we are in black and white.
That's right.
My how
We
the
knew.
turntables.
pretty
We were just
do turn.
nodding to you. We're just
Yes,
trying to get on a level.
We bend the knee.
Yep.
That dress, is it one big print when you open it up, or is it just kind of like colors?
That's a fun question that I don't know the answer to. It is one large print, I do believe.
Yeah, that's what it looks
I do
like.
believe it is one large print.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, it definitely looks like that. So I didn't know if there was like a sun somewhere.
No, there's no sun. It's just these really interesting cloud like patterns. They did a collection with this print, and it was really small. And I actually tried this dress on when I took myself for a little shopping down at Saks Fifth Avenue in Greenwich a couple of years ago. I didn't buy the dress. And then I spent 2 years hunting for the dress. And I finally found it on the Real, and I had to have
Yeah,
it.
shut up and take my money.
Yeah, 100%.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
100%.
Pretty much.
We all know the feeling.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll always regret the things you don't buy.
Yeah.
That's so motivational.
Take that one to the grave. Yeah.
Yeah. I want that on one of those motivational
That on the
posts.
tombstone.
Yeah. With just money on fire.
Oh my God.
Well, Krista, yeah, so you guys are cousins.
We
Yep.
are.
That's pretty dope.
Yes.
Did you two grow up together?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we kind of lost touch in our teen and young adult
It was the
years.
90s. It was a different time.
It was. We were wild.
Yeah.
Like we went to
Scamps.
different high schools, and we obviously went to different colleges, and we did lose touch. And then she moved back to Connecticut, and we got back in touch, and it was a
We've
beautiful,
literally been together ever since.
inseparable, like
Yeah.
silly that we even lost touch.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
we are
Wasted time.
kind of, yeah, right?
Wasted time.
But we've made up for it.
We've made
We
up
have more
for
than
it.
made up for it.
And also like formative years, right? Like we all
Completely.
kind of journey here, there, and everywhere.
Yep.
And I love today more than I love yesterday. So like whatever.
Yep. So the way it kind of happened too was that I was moving back to this area, or I had moved back to this area. And I think we've talked about a little bit in my journey where like I had my real estate license and I was kind of doing like 50 different things. I had had my first child. And I think it was my mother that had seen you on Facebook, had seen Lastrina Girls on Facebook and was like, you should talk to your cousin and see if she needs any help at the shop. And I'm like, you know what? I should. And I hit you up and I was like, no handouts here, but like I can bring in my resume, and you were like, come in and let's interview. And we just sat there, and it was like,
Was it an interview?
I mean, what's funny about it
I don't
is
recall the interview.
it wasn't like, it was not formal, but I very specifically remember feeling like, okay, like there is no handout here. Like
Yeah.
it was just like, I did want to have that professional rapport with you. And so that was important to me. And I think it was important to you too. And we were all just kind of like, we were both just kind of like making sure like we get along, everything's cool. I had a lot of experience in the city, and just everything sort of snowballed from there. And I'm going to fast forward that part of the story to when you basically said to me, you don't work here anymore. You're going to go work in alterations.
Yeah.
And
You were on the sales floor?
I was on the sales floor for almost 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, but like
Year.
on and off.
On and off.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like full time.
Wasn't full time.
It was kind of, let's call it per diem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it was very helpful. I don't mean to
I
diminish the
loved
per
it.
diem, because
No.
I was like, you had a baby. I had also just had a baby, and I was like, oh my gosh, please, I need help
Yep.
on this day. Can you come in and help? And you're like, let me see what I could do. And
Yep.
so you did. You jumped in
It was
when I needed you.
awesome.
And I mean, that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Because your daughter is 8.
Yeah, we're just going to say that. Sounds
My
good.
daughter's gonna be
Yeah.
8 years
No, that's true, because it was about 2 years. The business is about 6 years old, and it was
Yeah.
about 2 years after that things kind of went in a different direction.
Right.
And I've said this to you before, but for the listener, like without Krista and working at Lastrina Girls and getting fired from Lastrina Girls by you, there is no Demelis Atelier. None of that happens. That's
Wild.
literally the origin story is like sitting right across from me. So that's pretty cool.
I knew you had talent, and I did. I didn't fire you, but I did.
I mean, you might have said those
you.
words.
Encourage that you don't show up tomorrow.
You no longer have a spot.
Yes. It's not you, it's me.
It's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
I knew you needed to use your talents because you have the talent, and I knew you had your design talent and everything like that, but you were still just kind of burgeoning on your alterations and tailoring talent. So I knew you needed to do that. And I knew, and I can say this in a selfish way, not that I want to sound selfish at all.
Do it, let it rip.
But my store needed more tailors at that time than I needed salespeople.
You literally said to me, this will be better for everyone. This will be better for all of us if you go and do this.
Yeah, I needed at that time, and you were kind of per diem, and I had taken on a couple of other salespeople who were putting in a few more hours than you.
Yep.
So I was like, you know what? She just needs to do tailoring. And I knew that if you got in with tailoring and you developed that would benefit both of us.
Great for everybody. Yep.
It would be good for everybody. I said it then, I say it now. It'd be good for everybody because there's not enough good tailors.
Thanks, friend.
Very true. That is so odd. That's like when you hear that Nikola Tesla studied under Thomas Edison.
Right.
Just like it's like those things when you find out in history, like these people, like
because good people know good people. That's been a theme for the last few episodes.
It really has been.
Good people know good people.
Back. So, Krista.
Yes, Matt.
I just feel like we should go back to the beginning. Your
Yes,
epic tale.
please. Yep.
What day were you born?
I was born on July 7th, 1985.
Cancer! Krista and I have birthdays like a week apart.
We do.
We actually were supposed to be born the opposite times, I think. I was supposed to be born in July for sure.
Were you?
I was supposed to. I came early.
I know I was a good week late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you were supposed to be born. I think it was
I
the reverse.
I was right at the end of July or June. I was supposed to be born. And I did
2 sisters.
Yeah, 2 sisters.
Just, an epic tale began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
are your families close?
Yeah, I'd say.
And it's evolved over the years. Like it's family dynamics,
and
you know?
Part of that evolution is, and I don't want to start sobbing at the moment, but just the passing of a lot of key family members who helped form us and form our parents. And I think it happens for so many families, right? Like people pass away and what feels like key family members. So are our families close? Yeah, I would say that they're close, but has the dynamic kind of changed and evolved over the years? Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you come from a entrepreneurial background, like small business spirit?
Yes, I do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I could say like, oh, my dad, but it definitely starts well past that. And our great grandmother, she came over from a farm in Italy that had no electricity, no running water. These people lived off of the land completely, and they were incredibly hardworking people. So when they came over here, they were also incredibly hardworking people. And my other grandparents had come over and they started a bakery and pizzeria, which a lot of people from old Middletown will still talk about and say it's the best. And it makes me so happy when I hear that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And my store is 12 years old now. So it's happening less and less as the years go on. But when I first opened the store, I can't tell you how many older Italian residents came into the store and were like, Lastrinas, did you have the bakery? Did you have the pizzeria?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And you're just like, yeah, we had that. And now that it happens so rarely, maybe only a couple of times a year, it's that much more special. So yes, entrepreneurs. And then my grandmother later in life, and I brag, like there could be a whole episode just about her, I feel like.
Let's make it this episode.
she came over from Italy when she was 15. And God just really blessed her with incredible intelligence. So even though when she came over, she was just kind of working and then started a family very young, as people did in the 50s. She, they didn't have a lot, but they worked hard and they made it through and all was well. And then she took on a whole different path later on in life, in what would be later on in life, which was probably her late 30s, early 40s, which is actually interesting that I think about that because I'm 39 now. Mm-hmm. So she was probably about my age when she, this Italian immigrant who spoke no English when she came over here, put herself through college and little by little put herself through business school. And she and her second husband started a business. He had a degree in engineering and she had a degree in business. So they started this engineering company that ended up being incredibly successful. And when I was just starting my store, she's the first person I gave my business plan to. Mm-hmm. And I said, tell me what you think. And she took it and she hung on to it for a while. And she came back with actual notes because she wanted me to succeed. She wasn't just like, oh, this is wonderful. Nice. Let me make you some pasta. She did. She did do that. But she also gave me some excellent notes.
That's so cool that immigrants came here and made a good life and contributed to society. That's so awesome to hear that.
And I love, and I think you'd probably echo this as these are your family members as well. Their version of a good life is not our version of a good life today.
Absolutely.
Like I'll go off on another tangent. I'll refrain, but like a simple life, right? They worked hard. They fed their family. They had a home that they were proud of, but it wasn't a mansion. Mm-hmm. And obviously technology was not even a thing at that point in time, but they lived good lives.
Yeah. I feel like for our grandparents, it was more a measure of just how hard you worked. It wasn't so much about the end result. It was like, did you put in a good hard day's work?
Right.
Did you do something for, like, were you useful? Mm-hmm. Were you a useful member of society that day?
That's
like,
so cool.
that is definitely like my grandfather and your grandmother are brother and sister, and that was definitely the work ethic. My grandfather was a contractor. I think I've mentioned before that he is the reason for the DeMellis name. That was his last name. And so that's where that comes from. But he was always someone who was kind of in the background, like as a cheerleader, who I think saw something in me that was a piece of himself. So that was really something that I was aware of in my subconscious.
Do people ever come to you and say, DeMellis, like the contractor?
All the time. Not the contractor. They'll usually know my mom, my aunt, my uncle. Yeah. Some have remembered my grandfather or his cousin who was also here, who was a DeMellis, same last name. So interestingly, my grandmother and my great aunt Rose are sisters. They married two cousins of the same last name, so they both got the DeMellis last name in different ways, and then the cousin, it's all the whole thing.
Jeez.
It's a whole thing.
That's so interesting because it's something I relate to also, having such a big family. Like, I can't go anywhere on the planet without being like, are you a Banover? Like, are you one of those? And especially for the years that I worked in West Hartford, because my father is a surgeon at Hartford Hospital, and my grandparents lived in West Hartford. My parents lived in West Hartford. Then they moved to Farmington 35 years ago. And so there's a big presence of my family there. And I would say at both stores that I worked at in West Hartford, people would come in and be like, are you Thomas Banover's son? And I'd be like, yeah. And it hits such a specific chord.
Isn't there a lot of pride to it?
Yeah,
it's amazing. You know what's also funny is that this is different for you guys, but when people know my dad, but then they see me, and they're like,
as the adopted son.
Yes. Yeah. So for the listener, I'm adopted. My father is blue eyes, very white, and Thomas, his name's Thomas, and my name's Matt. So people are like, I know Banovers.
You don't
you
look
don't
like
look
them.
like them.
One of these things is not.
Yeah, exactly. So that happened not too often because one of the things that you know about the Banniver family is the multiracial aspect and adopting kids. But it would always be funny when people were like,
they would actually see you and try to
they were always
the
like,
math.
how do I put this? I don't know if you know. You don't look
Like
the way you should. You don't look like a Matt Banniver. So that was always really fun. But
What heritage is the Banniver last name?
Ellis Island, to put it the short term.
Okay.
I think that my dad is very secretive about his life. Not secretive. My dad's an only child.
Okay.
And then he is pretty much one of the last Bannivers on the planet.
Oh.
There's like one other person in Arizona.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not with 10 kids.
Yeah. So then
right?
he basically like created this dynasty that in, several generations, Bannivers will be like Smiths. Because we've got, 5 boys and then we've got 8 or 9 grandkids with that last name. Like it's insane. Mm-hmm. So my father was very, it just doesn't talk about his background that much. His parents died, I think, when I was like born. So I just don't know anything about him. There's no reason for it to ever come up.
But we don't know where they came from?
For some reason, Yugoslavia sticks in my mind.
Okay.
And it was like, whatever, like Banniverstein, something with a bunch. It was a lot longer.
I see.
And then they just shortened it to Banniver.
I see.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it starts in America.
I think that's so interesting. You're not the first person I've talked to in my life in the world who's been like, I'm not really sure where my family came from or whatever, but we are so sure where our family came
really
from.
weird.
Well, it's different for my dad versus my mom.
Okay.
I could tell you the town that
There you
my
go.
grandparents lived in Ireland.
Okay.
But my dad, he's just like, New Haven. And I'm like, no. I'm like, no, that's not your
not a
life didn't
nationality,
start
Dad.
when you went to Yale.
I mean,
but exactly. Like, like it literally is like his story started in college when he met my mom. That's pretty much as far back as I know about him.
Wow.
And he's just like,
It's your dad.
yeah. And he's just, but my dad, it's so interesting because all of my storytelling aspiration and dreams come from my father. Mm-hmm. The way he commands a room, it is a spectacle. It is one of
I see nothing of that in you.
Yeah, exactly. And he does it in such a good way. Like he does it in the way like Bruce Springsteen can just command an arena. And then you watch like these other bands like Rage Against the Machine or something that are just a lot of noise and chaos. That's me, So there's like, you're both on the same stage doing very different shows. Like my dad is just, the way he makes people feel, the way he tells a story, the way he tells a joke, it's incredible. And if I could just be a drop of the way he makes people feel, I would feel like it was a success.
That's really sweet.
And my mom is definitely just always like trying to like pull him off the stage, and he's just holding court and like he's the guy. I don't know why this is always my biggest memory of him. Well, one of them is just like we would be checking out at a grocery store, and the food you can imagine. We've got 17 carts of food, and everybody they're like calling people in on their days off to help bag up the food. And my dad's there. 5 different workers are trying to bag up the food. My dad's there telling them stories. He's just like, I'm an only child and I've got 10 kids. My nerves are shot. Like, and like that
relatable
imagery of him is just like what I strive for. But I don't know where to start talking about that. But yeah, but for my mom, I mean, they've gone back to Ireland. They've gone back to the village.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like there's very much. I even thought about getting Irish citizenship because I think all you need is like a grandparent to still own property there.
Yep.
And then it gets handed down through the lineage.
Okay.
And so I was like, that'd be cool if I was American, Honduran, and Irish.
Yeah.
I just throw people for a loop.
Combo.
I just show people my Irish citizenship. Like I'm from the South.
That don't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
So okay, we've covered the first 1 year of your life. So I actually, you know what? No, I'll save that for a little bit later.
Okay. I was born.
So where did you start to develop the idea of business for yourself?
I was pretty young. I would say probably middle school, high school.
Oh, really?
But to be clear, it was not bridal business. It was architecture. 'Cause
What?
I wanted to be an architect since I was a little kid. I would drive around in the backseat of my mom's Oldsmobile. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in a really old Victorian house and has lots of character. And it felt like a puzzle piece to me because it was also a 2-family house. And I thought, wait a minute, because my best friend lived on the other side. This other family lived on the other side of our house in the duplex. And so I'm like, their side is different than our side. And I just remember always being curious, why and how's the puzzle piece? Because it all looks like one normal house from the outside, but it's very unique inside. And how does this puzzle fit together? And I loved playing with Legos and things like that. And I just remember loving, sketching out houses. I don't know why I did this, but then my grandfather, he knew I liked looking at house plans. And he would always get the Sunday paper, and we were often at their house on Sundays. And in the very back section, which was the real estate section, there would sometimes be some house plans in there if you wanted to do new construction with your real estate and whatever. And so he would save those for me because he knew I liked looking at those. And then I started getting house plan magazines and just looking at all this architecture. Yeah. And I don't know why I thought to myself, well, I would want to have my own architecture firm. Mm-hmm. What kid thinks that? I don't know why, but that's what I thought. So I went into high school. I got an internship in architecture. Then I went to college and kept going with all of that. But I always thought I would, someday, not right away, but someday I would have my own architecture firm.
That's so
wild.
Cool.
What was the transition point for you from interest in architecture to thinking at all about bridal?
Yeah, how does bridal show up?
Right.
How does bridal show up? So bridal shows up when you get laid off. So
true facts.
So I'll just rewind from that for a second and say that having kind of an artsier, designier inclination and head about me, I did always like fashion, and I did always like dresses and pretty things, and very much a girly girl. So when I say how I got into bridal, it's not going to be like, well, she was a tomboy and she was climbing trees and then she realized she liked dresses. No, I always liked dresses, and I always liked looking pretty and feeling good in clothes and being fashionable and all that kind of stuff. Was I successful at it in my teen years? Not at all.
No. It was the 90s. None of us were.
We know what we were doing.
Yeah.
But I always liked the pretty things. So anyway, when I was a couple years out of school for architecture and I was working at this large firm, it was 2008, 2009, and the economy was crashing hard, and all of these architecture firms, because at that point nobody was built, all the building, all construction came to a screeching halt. And so all of these firms started just laying off young architects in droves. Yeah. And so this huge firm that I worked at downsized by a third, and I was part of that. Yeah. And so I also happened to be engaged at the time, and I'm buying my wedding dress. I'm unemployed because the only other firms that were hiring at that time were in very large cities like New York, and I did not want to move to New York, and I didn't know how it would even be possible to do that. So I was like, I can't do that. And I kept thinking, oh, well, something else will open up. But in the meanwhile, I got to get a job. So I'm chatting with the ladies at this bridal store, which I purchased my wedding gown at. And I'm saying, well, I want this and I want this, but let me hold on because I need to save money for this because I don't have the money for this right now. And they said, well, you need a job and we need extra help on Saturdays. What if you worked off your dress? And I said, ask me once. Like, I'm done. Like, that's what's happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Had you ever been in any sales capacity before?
Nope.
Nothing. Just
nope.
on a Saturday.
Just
that's it.
Yeah. And it was a small shop. It wasn't a huge, like, massive store, but it was a good store, and they did a good business. And I worked that one Saturday. It was October 24th of 2009. And I worked that Saturday. And then the owner called me on Monday, and and I thought that Saturday just went beautifully. And I'm like, this is great. I love this. This was so much fun. Like I didn't even like second guess anything. Like I looked through some dresses and I was like, oh yeah, this is this. And it was a fish to water. And so she called me a day or two later, and she was like, what would you think about working full time?
Oh, wow.
I was like, done. I'll do it.
Wow. Where was this shop?
This was a shop down in Guilford, and it was called April Rose. It's no longer there. But it was a tiny little shop in a house, and it had so much stuff in this house. It was a small house, and she used for anyone who had ever visited it, it has been closed for many years now, but for anyone who had ever visited it, they would know that it had so much stuff inside that building, and a lot of beautiful stuff. But it was interesting navigating through all of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so how long did you work there?
I worked there for about a year, and then my wedding did happen, and not such a good working relationship as one would hope. So I wasn't sure that I was going to stay there, and I was pretty sure I wasn't going to stay there. And then my wedding was happening, so I said, I just kind of need a break at this time. And she knew it too. And then I was approached by someone named Michelle Barbara, who is a tailor out of Brantford. And she had been approached to come manage another bridal store. And she said, no, I don't. She goes, I'm happy tailoring. Her 2 boys were young at the time, so she was working out of a home studio. So she's like, I've got my kids, I've got my business, I'm all set. Yeah. She goes, but I know a girl who would be great, because I had come to know her through April Rose. And Michelle gave them my information. She said, she's great with brides, give her a call. And they did. And so then I started managing that bridal store.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And how long were you there?
I was there for about a year and a half.
Just short spurts.
Short spurts. A little more than a year and a half. And that store could not have been more opposite than the previous store, which I look at as a good thing. Yeah. I came from this very quaint little sweet grandma shop, I'll call it, to a shop that was also very, very small, but treated in a more corporate way. I don't know how to say that. And so these two really polar opposite ways of doing business. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not good, but this is not good. Yeah. And, I think you always think, how would I do this?
That's so interesting, because that's 1,000% my journey also. Like I working at giant corporate behemoths like Express or Joseph A. Bank. Even just going, they're $2 billion companies, but even just one to the other, I was like, world of difference. How you treat it, how you talk to the customers, what the point of a sale is. Right. At Express, we used to have a a saying, stack it high and watch it fly. Like, get those pants like mountains.
Wow.
And get it out the door.
Wow.
Whereas Joseph A. Bank, it was like, okay, you do want a little bit more, but you want to build the sale. You want to like look for the stuff and like spend more time with the customer. Like not at Express, it was like just touch. We would say like touch them once. Go in. Hey, what do you need? Blah, blah, blah. And then that's it.
Okay.
And then the next person should be the cash register. Like that was it. It was you're a tour guide. You're not a tour guide. That's what she said. You're not here to show them. You point things, you get them out at Express. And I was like, well, that is not fun. So the coveted role at Express was the cashier because then you get to spend time with the customer.
Okay.
You get to hang out. Your shift goes by so fast because you're like doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Whereas if you're out in the wastelands, you're like folding jeans, all sweaty and gross.
Yeah, that shift is a hard one.
Yeah. And then I went from there to Joseph A. Bank and I was like, oh, wow, this is so nice. It was very different to go from teeny boppers and young professionals to adults. But I was like, oh, this is so nice. This vibe.
Yeah.
A little bit more elevated.
Experiential. Yeah.
Yep. And then, when I went to the boutique store, that was so much like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
They're not even clients or customers. They're humans.
Right.
These are just people that are here because of this business.
I think what you said too about like Express is like teeny boppers and whatever, and then Joseph A. Banks, and then the boutique, it's adults.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about my two environments. Like it was just quick and go, but you are an old soul. So those teeny boppers, I can't see you possibly relating to them.
It was not fun. And one of the reasons I rose to the top, kind of like the way you two talked about it, was that I was like, I am not going to wear a graphic tee. Like I'm not wearing a graphic tee that says like New York.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, in graffiti, and I was just like, and just like I was also bigger than most Express sizes went up to. So it's just like my boobs were all coming out of the graphic tee. I was like, I didn't feel comfortable. And I didn't feel comfortable in the ripped jeans, none of it. Yeah. So I was like, well, I got to wear the product to sell the clothing. I was like, well, all right, they sell suits here. Let me buy one of the suits. Because I was raised in the church. Like I wore suits every weekend. My father, like I said, like we came from basically Gilmore Girls backgrounds. Like we would go to people's houses and dress up to go to holiday parties. Like I remember being like 7 or 8 years old and it was wear the blazer to go to this party. And I was like, I loved that. I love it. Still chasing that high.
But you're a grown up and you're an old soul.
So and so when I was at Express,
no way you would fit
I bought the suit and it was like immediately rose to the top of the ranks and then was like, oh yeah, I'm beyond this. Yeah. And then moved to Joseph A. Bank. And then it was like, this is still cool, but I want to be more invested in what I'm selling because I knew the product was not good. And that's what I liked at the boutique store, which is like, I like this dialogue that we can have. I like the interaction. I like that I can be proud of it. But then, didn't get along with the boss and was like, again, how would I do this differently? And then it was just like, oh, okay, moving on.
So at what point did you go from that second boutique into
my own
your own store?
Yes, I did.
So
a slight interim.
So I want you to talk about that. Like, what was that like? Because I think you're a great example too. And we talked about this a little bit in the 2 episodes ago about when you're sort of, I don't necessarily want to call it 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but it's like you're starting small with intention.
Right.
Because you can't just go jump from 0 to 60 necessarily. It could be the monetary investment or for a variety of reasons. The risk involved is just so great. So talk about when you transition to like owning your own thing.
Yeah. So first things first, slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race. If you try to rush into this, I have seen a lot of other business owners, and this is not me saying that I do everything perfectly and I know everything. I certainly don't, and we learn every day, right? We never stop to learn.
I was gonna say
we never stop to learn.
You said it.
And so we never stop to learn. Slow and steady wins the race. But I had left the second boutique, again, some unpleasant environment. situation going on there. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I could not stay there. Mm-hmm. And I had my father, who is also a business owner, encouraging me, why are you just not doing this for yourself? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, Dad, I have no money. How am I supposed to do this for myself? Where am I even supposed to get started? Yeah. The good thing about that second boutique, part of that working culture in this kind of small but corporate-y, it was a very strange dynamic, but they would be, the owner would be super micromanaging, hands-off, and then they would disappear for long, months and months at a time. So when they were disappeared, and I was like, what's going on here? I had to play owner. And so in doing that, I did get to learn how to put in orders and make relationships with people and whatever. So I knew I could do that. But again, I had never actually done it. So I was like, how am I even going to do this? Yeah. But I left that job and I just got a job managing a medical office and doing receptionist office type work. And I said, I just need to not do something that consumes me because
little palate cleanser.
I needed a palate cleanser. I needed a job that I could just leave work at work and go home and just be a regular person again.
What would that be like?
I no longer know. But at the time, I was craving it because it was really, there's a lot of toxicity that I needed to cleanse, right? Palate cleanser. I needed to get rid of that. So I left that job. I was working in this office and that was all well and good. And again, my dad kept encouraging me, you have to do this for yourself. Now, when I took the job as a receptionist, I felt really torn about it because the person who hired me, great lady, and I actually just saw her not too long ago because I helped her friend get a mother of the bride dress. But I knew she was going to offer me the job, and I was so torn about taking it because I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I knew I was going to make this big leap into owning my own store. And if I said slow and steady wins the race, also honesty is the best policy. Mm-hmm. I went to her and I said to her, she offered me the job, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and I was like, Sherry, I really thank you, and I really do want to take this job. I said, but I have to be honest with you. I said, you know that I come from bridal, and I do want to open my own bridal store at some point. I said, and I said, I don't know how it's ever going to happen, and I don't know when it's going to happen. I said, but I just want to be upfront with you that that's my goal. And to my wonderful surprise, she was like, that's fine. She goes, you're fantastic and I want you. She goes, so I'll take you for as long as I can have you.
I love it.
And so I felt good. I didn't feel dishonest or yucky or anything like that. I could go into that job so that when I did 6 months later, open my own store and had to tell her, like, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. She wasn't angry. And to that benefit, what happens when you open your own store? You make no money for a very long time. Yep. So she let me work some of their odd early and late hours in the office, and also some off hours that I was able to take from my store. So I was opening this store and also for the first 3 years of the store's existence, working this other job and trying to put in as many hours as I could there. Yeah. Because you're not making any money for the first few years.
Yeah. That's incredible. So give us the condensed version. I feel like we could talk this episode would be 5 hours long.
Yeah.
What is Lastrina Girls? What's it mean to you? What's your goal?
Lastrina Girls, first, the name, everybody asks me, like, what is your name Lastrina? Yeah. They think that my first name is Lastrina. Oh. My first name is Krista. My last name is Lastrina. Yeah. And I have 2 older sisters. And growing up as the third sister and going through school and just in a big town of people who know my whole family, they would go, oh, you're one of the Lastrina girls. Mm. So I just always had this kind of Lastrina girl identity and loved that identity.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking of bridal store names, I didn't want to pick anything done or corny or this or that. And I said, what's unique? And Lastrina Girls it was. So,
That's so cool.
I've always been the sole proprietor. People think that because of the name, my sisters own it with me. They don't. That said, my family was all hands on deck when I first opened the store. And they came and they volunteered their time and they helped me get things set up. And it was wonderful.
That's funny that you say that about thinking that there's multiple owners. That thought has never crossed my mind.
Really?
Not in one moment. I always thought it was called Lastrina Girls because the clients, the brides are the girls.
So that's sort of the flip side of the coin.
Yeah.
And at the Middlesex Chamber of Commerce, there was a guy there who his job was to just kind of meet new prospective downtown business owners. And so I told you that my grandmother looked at my business plan and she made some notes and I took those notes and worked with them. And then I gave it to this other guy. His name was Paul. And he looked through everything and he goes, now he's scratching his head and he's like, what is Lastrina Girls? And I said, well, it's my family name. I said, but it's also a sense of ownership, right? So we have brides who they are Lastrina Girls. So it's my family name and it means something very special to us, but it also means something really special to our brides and our clients that they come in and they are part of the fold.
Yeah, they say, I'm a Lastrina girl.
Lastrina girl.
You're a Lastrina girl.
That's so,
It's
the way almost like the lineage moves out beyond.
Yeah.
It
And we're not
does.
talking about like next generation. We're talking about like spreading wide in the current.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a really great thing because it kind of keeps you pushing towards something that like your family is going to be proud of. Because it's not just my last name.
Yeah.
Like it's my dad's last name. Like my sisters have ownership of this name.
Yep.
Our ancestors have ownership of this name. And I want them to be proud of it. So I do my very best to do right by our clients and in that way, I think I'm making my family pretty proud
Yeah, definitely.
and spreading the Lastrina name.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about a quick segue into, and I'm asking this because I have seen it firsthand, and I think it's something that all business owners might wrestle with from time to time. And I don't know if yours is a natural ability or learned or both, but I've said this to you before in your presence, that you have an incredible ability to talk to people. And I don't mean conversation. I mean the eloquence with which you speak to tackling tough conversations or crappy clients or really weird one-off, potentially bad situations for your business, bad people with bad attitude, like whatever. You name a tough bridal shop scenario, I've seen you in it. And you handle things with such grace,
Thank you.
such composure. And I feel like you are so, it's not that you're quick-witted, but it's that you almost have, I feel like there's like a Rolodex of beautiful words in your brain. And they just all start stringing out very beautifully. And it's so thought out, but so like calm. I've never seen you get like heated in a moment. Like we talk turkey later over a cocktail, don't get me wrong. But
I think I just black out and things come out. No.
could happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like talk for the listener about maybe where some of that came from, if it came from experience, or what's going through your mind when you're dealing with like a trouble spot in business.
Yeah.
I thank you for that because it's not without effort. I joke that I black out, but it's not without effort. And I had a tricky scenario quite recently that was unpleasant coming at us. And this client was just continuously, she took every opportunity she could to be rude and belittling to myself and to my staff. And you have seen that I will bend over backwards for customers, and it doesn't take much. And I want everybody to, I just want everybody to be so happy and feel pretty. And that's all I want. So, but I also feel a responsibility to my name and to my employees. So if you come in and you do behave so rudely, I'm going to talk to you about it. And I'm going to talk to you honestly. I think there's a lot of things that go into me being able to talk to people honestly. That's having gone through a marriage that ended, and that's having 2 children that I want to have a healthy relationship with. It's having gone through therapy. It's going through maybe some tough family situations. And the goal is not to be the winner in the end and just say like, I'm right. The goal is to just have like honesty and justice for all. Like I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to talk to my clients with honesty. And I'm going to tell them that like, here's my perspective of things. And this is how I see that you behaved. And this is how it affected myself and my staff. And that's not okay. And this behavior is not acceptable. But it's delivery, right? Yeah. Stay calm.
Always.
Keep cool. Deep breath. There's a solution to every problem. There's nothing that we can't get past. I had a bride not too long ago, and she just got married this past weekend, and I love her. But we did have a little hiccup. And all of her visits were so happy. And I was, oh my gosh, hey, how are you? Every time she came into my store, I love seeing her and she loved seeing me. And we gave each other hugs. And I have nothing but the best for her. But we did have a little hiccup. And I had to kind of just be honest with how I felt and how I felt she was speaking and in return. And she came into the store the very next visit and she said, let's never fight again. And she laughed it off. Yeah. And she gave me a huge hug. And I was like, see, that's it.
Yeah.
Just keep your cool. There's nothing to get flustered about.
Right.
I'm going to give you some honest words and you can give me some honest words back.
Yeah.
But we don't need to get heated about anything.
Yep. Right. Most customers just want to feel heard.
They do.
It's not so much about what they're saying or anything. I remember I worked at the Marriott front desk, kind of like you at the medical office, like a quick stint in between retail jobs.
Customer service.
Yep. And I worked there and I got a really good, the job was awful, but I got a really great training on dealing with people. And it was lead with empathy. Mm-hmm. Like when you work front desk, you're the front line. Yeah. It doesn't matter. They could have had the worst drive-in. The room service could be awful. The food could be terrible. Doesn't matter. You're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
Anything that's not your fault, you are going to hear about. Lead with empathy. It's just let them know that they're heard. Don't try to pass the buck. Don't try to say, well, I'll go scream at room service. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Let me fix it.
That, and also if in your first sentence or two, say, you know what, that sounds really frustrating.
Yeah.
I would be frustrated too.
Yep. They just want to feel validated and one thing I hated, and I didn't have the language available to articulate this to my Joseph A. Banks staff, was to take ownership. Internally, we'll deal with this some other way. Mm-hmm. But in front of the customer, oh my gosh, we'll fix this. Mm-hmm. This sounds frustrating. We'll get on this. And then afterwards, we can point the finger and point blame and fire whoever, retrain, or whatever.
Flip tables.
Yeah, whatever needs to be done. We can do that internally. But we would do it all the time at Joseph A. Bank of just like, oh my God, I can't believe Morgan did this, like in front of the customer. And it's like, I look back at those days. I mean, whatever. I was 24 managing this store. I didn't know much. But it was just like, I then learned about just leading with that empathy, making people feel heard is everything. And you can turn around any situation that way.
You can. I think we as humans, and there's so many situations you can apply this to, we want to point a finger at somebody. Mm-hmm. We need to feel in order for us to feel satisfied and justified, we need to point a finger at somebody, right? Like there was horrible hurricanes. Well, who did that hurricane? And then there's other tragedies in the world. Who did that?
Yeah.
Someone's strap breaks. Who did that?
Right.
They want to point a finger at someone.
An actual thing to direct their anger
There needs to be an enemy.
Correct.
If you as a business owner or a manager or somebody, if someone comes to you and says, this was wrong, how do we fix, what did you do for you to go, whoa, I didn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then they're going to say, who did?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, are you not in as charged as you say you are?
Right. It doesn't sit well.
No.
It just adds to the problem.
Yeah.
So yes, to take ownership, like you were just saying, to say, I don't know what happened, but I know that must be frustrating. I'm going to find out what happened, and then we're going to find a solution for you.
Be their
Lay out
buddy.
the groundwork. Lay out their expectations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Expectations are huge.
Yes.
What is the mantra of Lastrina Girls? What do you want brides to feel?
Oh gosh, I don't like this question. I just really want them to feel their most beautiful self. That's kind of the long and short answer is I just really want them to feel their most beautiful self. And I'm a yapper, so I could go on and say, well, it's this and it's that and it's whatever. Part of the Lastrina Girls platform and what I'm really passionate about is having anyone be able to walk into the store and feel beautiful and have beautiful dresses to try on. And a big passion of mine is size inclusivity. So I'm plus size now. I have not always been plus size. I know that it's can be painful to go shopping as a plus size person. And I know what it's like to go shopping as a non-plus size person. And going from being able to shop anywhere you want to then going into small boutiques and saying, there's literally nothing for me here. And I'm even talking about like ready to wear. If I'm on vacation and I go into a small little cutesy beach shop and there's like a rack of little sundresses and cute stuff, I know that there's not a darn thing for me on that rack. And that really bums me out. I know that I can only look at like their purses or their little trinkets and things like that. When brides come into my store, no matter their size, there are dresses for them to try on. And there's not just like one dusty old dress in the back that's like 10 years old. There are current sizes, styles, trends, whatever they want, I've got it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you say, I want every bride to feel as beautiful as they can, because it puts it on them. It's like everybody has their own definition of beauty.
They do.
And it's like, whatever that is, I want to help you
realize that.
They
realize
do.
that and see that and be a part of that. It's such a beautiful, I think inclusivity, it does turn into a buzzword, a sound
It
bite,
does.
but the way you do it in every aspect of your business, the name, I want you to be a Lastrina girl.
Yeah.
Size inclusivity, I want anybody to be able to walk in. How you handle it, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
I think that is so, I think it goes back to so much about who you guys are and your heritage and your lineage. Like you're a hostess. Let me take care of you. Let
Very
me just figure this
familial.
out.
You're cooking too much food at every gathering.
Yeah. Just so much. I don't know if you knew this.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. It's not a problem.
You probably knew this a while ago, but my introduction, so you and I met when we were, 15, 16, something like that, on a trip in Kentucky building rooms. Then we didn't really talk or anything for like a decade later. I work retail. I'm at the boutique shop, and Krista's dad is a customer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right? I knew you would have thought about this.
Yeah, it's funny. I forget that you knew my dad before you knew me.
Yep, exactly. And so your dad would come in all the time, buy shops, and he would tell us all about his business. He owns a funeral home.
He does.
And I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like, that's why, like, and he would tell me about starting up business and, how rough it was and like, getting loans and paying them back and doing this. And I was just like, wow, this is so, wow, what a whole different world. Like, he sticks out in my mind as somebody who was inspirational, as
Aw.
somebody who could do it, and somebody who did
Yeah.
it, and somebody who just ground it out, and somebody who was proud of what he built.
Yeah.
And the way he talked about you and your business, he was just like, oh, you should go see Krista. Like, you guys are kind of in the same industry. And I was like, she sounds super cool. And then I remember when I started to rekindle with Melissa, she was like, yeah, my cousin Krista. I was like, what? And then
It's the same person.
and then I was like,
Yep.
oh, what? And then you had I forget what it was, the unveiling of the second floor,
Yes.
or whatever that event
Yeah.
was. I walked in when I started Bards. I was like, I should go talk to Krista Lastrina. And I walked in and we met one random day. And then I think like a couple months later was that party upstairs.
Yeah.
I came in one day to like drop off business
did.
cards and introduce myself. And then came to that party, and that's when we started to talk a little bit more. And then still several months went by, and then within the last year is when it was with Melissa all the time, and then you came in and we hit it off.
Yeah.
And now I'm a Lastrina girl.
You can be included.
Well, we are best friends now. So.
Slow your roll, okay?
But I think
It's a sacred territory.
Yeah, like that to me, that whole story and trajectory is so much about like the essence of this podcast, which is how we're all woven together and how like small businesses can overlap and help each other and support each other. And then you find those good people know good people type of
Yeah.
Totally.
aspect of like, oh, my daughter runs a bridal shop. You should go check her out. Like
Yep.
people he's proud of the business you've made, but he only wants people to work with you if they're good people also.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that,
Right.
it's a two-way street. Like
It is.
that's so beautiful. And then, like being family, you were
Right.
like, you should know Krista. Like, oh,
Right.
okay, same thing, a referral. I really hope that people understand how important referrals are. Like,
They are.
Yeah.
It's such a reflection on yourself.
They absolutely
You
are.
know, when somebody refers somebody to me and I hear about it, 2 thank you cards are going out after it's done. And I've sent thank you cards to photographers, to planners, to this. I'm like, I message them on Instagram. I'm like, what's your address? Because you're getting a thank you card. Because this is such a reflection on you.
Yeah.
To be like, I trust Matt.
Yeah.
Go see
People
him.
want to do business with people that are trustworthy, that have a reputation, but that other businesses speak well about.
Yeah. And I think when you
That's a big
see someone running their business in a good, honest, like all in type way, I said it to my employees in the past, like I go down with this ship. Like
Yeah.
if there's a lot of flexibility in being a small business owner, but like if something hits the fan, I will be there and I'm going to take care of these. Like all the problems are my problems, whether they are or they're not.
Yeah.
So in how I run my business, I know, Melissa, you run your business that way as well. You hold yourself to a high standard. There's nobody to pass the buck to.
Right.
So I feel like your standard is even higher than a corporate type standard.
Yeah.
And so I trust that I can send people to you. And same for the 3 of us. I trust that I can send people to you and they're going to get a good experience and a great product.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's huge. And, you are definitely in small business owners, it's always interesting to see who's running on like pure passion and then who has like a bit more business acumen. You have always struck me as somebody who's just like got it together.
Aw.
I'm
That's
just
nice
like,
because I don't always feel that way.
literally, you're one of those people where I'm just like, my God, like Krista has to have the answer.
But to also like to agree with you, but also to say like, you worked hard for that.
Yes,
shit.
exactly.
Thank you.
You came from starting it small, slow and steady, investing the time, making mistakes, learning from every single mistake.
Willing to be poor for a really long time.
Completely. And then to also reinvest in the business too, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't, again, with the slow and steady mentality, you were out of another retailer's shop in the back. Then you got your own space. Then you grew and renovated into a multi-floor situation.
Yeah.
Like it has been a really strategic and thoughtful and exciting trajectory to watch you go on. So real quick, final question. What, if any, like, do you have like a big plan for the future? You just kind of riding the wave right now? Like, where do you see it going? And that's not a trick question if it's...
Yeah. I mean, we did just celebrate our 12-year anniversary. And thank you guys for coming to the party. It was a great party. Awesome turnout. A lot of fun. So...
12 more.
12 more, 100 more. I don't know what my goals are. My goals are to just keep going and not ever let myself think that I've like made it.
Mastered it.
I've figured this out. I haven't figured this out. There's always something else to do. And whether that looks like me. So my building, for those who don't know, is this gorgeous old brownstone in downtown Middletown, and it's a 3-story building. We have the first 2 floors. We started with the first floor, then we got the second floor. Maybe at some point we get the 3rd floor, and we continue to grow in all those wonderful ways. But I don't see my growth looking like a different personality, just a development.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that.
Any final thoughts, questions?
That was my final question.
Awesome.
I want to know, I want for you to tell the listener, where can people find you?
Yes.
They can find me physically in Middletown, downtown on Main Street, 179 Main Street. Gorgeous building, like I just said. I really love the building. That's the architect in me who loves this building and our beautiful windows. It's a pretty large store. We have the largest collection in Connecticut, and something that I'm super proud of. So that's where you can find us physically. If you want to check us out online, it's lastrinagirls.com. Obviously, all the things, right? All those things that the kids do, all the social stuff.
All your amazing social media.
All that amazing social media.
What is your Instagram handle?
Lastrina Girls Bridal Salon. And Facebook. I think we've even got TikTok, although TikTok's a little quiet sometimes for the bridal store. But anyway, that's where you can find us and reach out with any questions, because a lot of brides are timid to kind of just jump right in. Maybe they haven't been dreaming of dresses their whole life. Just ask us a few questions. Yeah. It's okay.
I think that's
We don't bite.
Krista's the best.
Yes, Krista is the best.
Thank you. You guys are the best.
No, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Really, thank you for being
having
here,
me.
'cause this is so fun. And it's also like, I just want to say, like, as you guys have been cousins and like know each other, I feel so grateful to like, I feel like I've been like taken in a little bit by each of you and like cared for, and like I feel that
we won't let you starve. I'll tell you.
Yes, no, you won't. I literally both giving me food, like literally, like a raccoon by the dumpster, and I come out with my little hands and I take it. But like, I think the way you like that spirit is so much who you are as people, as individuals, and as business owners.
It'll just. You can bounce that compliment right back to our grandparents and everybody in our family, because they were warm, they were giving, they want to feed you and yell at you and encourage you and
keep you on the straight and narrow
and make sure you're warm all at the same time.
I love that. Well, Krista, we love you. Thank you so much. This was really such an honor. And thank you to the listener for checking us out. And you can please make sure you follow and support Lastrina Girls on all the socials. But thank you again for listening to another episode of The Fabric of America.